Look, it's inevitable. There will be recessions. There will be multiple recessions if you live to the life expectancy. Like, you're just gonna go through them. These uncertain times don't have to create chaos in your financial life, though.
Let's put more money in your pocket, increase your financial IQ, and create more peace of mind, clarity, and certainty in your life. Welcome to Money Matters, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we tackle the money topics that matter.
There's a certain, foundational philosophy and platform to help you navigate these, but most people hit the landmines. They take these missteps. It robs them of their fortune. And the reason is we've been sold a bill of goods that we should accumulate. We should set money aside. We should wait for 30 years. We should let compound interest do its work. And the market will go up and down, but just kind of stay the course. Now, while that happens, there's flash trading confiscating your money. While that happens, there's fees that are coming out whether you make money or not. While that happens, a downturn ends up costing you time and money, because if you have 100 grand and you lose 10%, you go down to 90 grand. When they come on the news and say, the market's rallied, we're back up 10%, you only have 99 grand if there were no fees, because it's 10% of less money. So what can you do in these uncertain times? Not to have your wealth confiscated, not to have people report that you've lost money when you've actually transferred it to other people in the know so that you can become a better investor, or simply just have more certainty, because less fear and worry means more time for abundance. Less concern means more time for creation. So let's talk about how people can apply economic independence or achieve economic independence through the principles and through the framework that will get them there.
I love it, yeah.
Are you economically independent?
I actually am, yes.
So you were at one time, right?
I was.
You got there in 362 days because you're an overachiever.
Right.
And you also spent 20 extra hours a week above your job to get there.
Correct.
You were a slumlord in Ogden, Utah.
I own a bunch of real estate.
Was it worse than me? Because who had the worst properties in Ogden?
Boy, Garrett, I don't know. I mean, we were both competitive right there.
Yeah, it's not a game that you want to win.
It wasn't a game that you want to win, yeah.
But we had a lot of properties up there, and you had enough cash flow coming from those.
Correct.
Net of expense to cover basic expenses.
It was like Robert Kiyosaki's book, creating, getting out of the rat race. So I was focused on that.
And so you transitioned out of your job at that point because you didn't love it.
Correct.
You wrote like me that let me know that we didn't have a cash flow optimization process, and you thought that you could improve that, and we brought you on board.
Right.
So you kind of created your own position.
Correct.
And then you created your own firm after that. And now you're my co-host and co-author.
Right.
So, so just giving you a little history here.
Yep.
So did you lose economic independence on that?
Yeah, I did, because I didn't build it on the correct platform, and that's the issue.
Real estate's not your passion.
Real estate's not my passion.
Some people are good at it, some people aren't. You've got to choose the right investor DNA. Is it the right thing for you?
The platform that I think most Americans use to become economically independent is based on three factors.
Are yours renewals? Is that your main economic
That was a big one, yeah, absolutely. But I have dividend income that's coming in, and I have a lot, business income coming in.
Entrepreneur-based income.
Entrepreneur, yeah, exactly.
You have like a 10% kind of override
exactly.
within your business.
I have interest income from different accounts, savings accounts. So yeah, I have it's through multiple different factors, but the platform that I think most Americans use, at least back in the 50s and 60s, was your company pension. Social Security.
Those have been annihilated.
That's been annihilated. Social Security, who knows when that's going to be? And then savings.
Yeah.
And that was the smallest portion. I mean, people were relying on their pension plan and Social Security.
The government's $23 trillion in debt. Don't know how Social Security is going to do.
Don't know how that's going to work.
Pensions have already gone bankrupt because they were projecting an 8.7% return in the market, and it didn't do that. And that's why the pensions collapsed, and then a lot of the companies went bankrupt or reorganized.
Right. So we got to build a platform that has multiple supporting layers, right? Yeah. Right, exactly. Some people call it different streams of income.
Buoyancy, contingency planning.
Most millionaires have 7 to 8 streams of income.
Right. We just got to be careful not to get too diversified that it's diversified, or building too many little streams that you neglect the mainstream of your income.
Which is the reason why the number one source of my, economic independence number basically comes from my business. Yeah. From business income,
Mine's
from
licensing
renewals.
My content.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense to re-diversify some of that into other accounts because the returns aren't going to be
I don't invest in real estate anymore. Used to have over 100 properties that I own between 20 and 100% of. I just have a few lease options where I don't have to manage them.
Right.
I don't invest in oil and gas anymore because I just ended up writing checks rather than getting checks because they had to keep drilling.
Right.
I don't invest in hard money lending. I used to do hard money lending and how to fund. Once again, that's very related to real estate where I was financing short-term deals before they got bank financing as a bridge.
Right.
I did 2 IPOs. The only stocks I invest in are my own companies at this point to grow those. Like, I've simplified my financial life and achieved economic independence faster. Before, I was diversified rather than diversified.
Right, exactly.
Right? So
you want to have that income cover your expenses, and ideally, and you talk about this in one of your books, Garrett, but having 1 times your expenses is enough.
Books. You keep talking about my books. That's cool.
So having 2, 3, 4, 5 times your expenses in
5-day
income.
weekend. We really talk about that, right? Like getting economically independent. It's so much easier to double that, where your assets are creating double that once you're there. Because before you're economically independent, a lot of the money you earn has to pay expenses. But once your assets cover those expenses with the cash flow, you now have unencumbered every active dollar you earn that can be reinvested and grown. And my co-author of that, Nick, he at an early age got economically independent. Then he got to 2 times, 5 times, 10 times because all of a sudden he didn't have to work in order to earn that income. And now he's been on pretty much every continent. He's even been to North Korea. He's been in active volcanoes. He went and had lunch in some submarine that took him down to the Titanic.
That's what I heard.
I think the few things he hasn't accomplished is he wants to go to space, although he became an astronaut.
He became an astronaut.
A cosmonaut through Russia.
Interesting.
So what's possible when you have that economic independence? You get to choose. You're not forced into anything.
Right, and you can live the life that you love. That's part of what we're trying to achieve here, because I think
imagine your dad's like, hey, you need to come to this workshop that my advisor's holding so you could live a life you love. You'd have thought that was the most airy-fairy, wussy thing you'd ever heard.
Absolutely.
And you just spoke it.
That is true. Yeah, I wouldn't have ever thought of that before.
An engineer just talking about personal development.
There is hope for all of you out there that are engineers.
Yeah, a guy living off Miracle Whip and saving every dollar, spending less than $4 on Christmas for his 4 kids.
Cutting up little M&Ms into little quarter pieces.
Dude, anyone can do it. I'm amazed you're still married.
My wife's just super happy about the way that we're going. I mean, we just flew over to Dubai just 2 weeks ago, and we got lay-down seats. You know
I'm telling you, you're never going back, bro.
There's no way to go back.
I just flew back from Boston with lay-down seats, but it was an older plane.
It's a little bit different coming from Boston, yeah.
Yeah, but it was lay-down seats at least.
That's cool.
I took a later flight just to have the lay-down seats.
Did you really? It's amazing when you get to the destination and you're wide awake and you feel energy and passion. You're like, good, let's go. So nice.
These are really important. Write down lay-down seats, as your big lesson today. Economic independence equals lay-down seats.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. All right, anything else on this economic independence?
No, I just think that what I want all of you to understand is that it is achievable. There's a path to accomplishing economic independence, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take persistence, it's going to take patience, it's going to take being willing to do the nobler and pettier things of your job. There's a whole formula that you can achieve to accomplish it. But
so here's the framework. Number 1, keep a lot more of what you make. That's what we do here. We help you do that. So it's boosting the bottom line. It's efficiency. Number 2, engineer wealth. You've got to know your economic independence number. What's your monthly expenses? Then we reverse engineer back. What are the steps you can take to get there? The third thing is to accelerate investment income. Where do you have stagnant assets or lazy assets that we can turn into cash flow? Do you have retirement plans that aren't producing cash flow? Do you have credit that you haven't used that you could produce cash flow with? There's so many options. And that's cash flow thinking first. The fourth thing is to scale business revenue. So let's say that you have a job. You can become an independent contractor. 70% of Americans now have a side hustle or side income in addition to their main job. And the internet has just absolutely created that. One of our cohorts, Demi, who's one of my hosts on this, Demi rented out her rooms with Airbnb, other than the one she was living in, to create enough cash flow to get a second property, to then Airbnb that to create economic independence. So that was being super resourceful. Then the fifth one is to make it count. It's to invest in experiences to enrich your life, to have relaxation, rejuvenation, and recreation, because you're the greatest asset. And if you burn yourself out, you'll have nothing to give. If you don't take time along the way to celebrate the wins, what good is it anyway? Win then play is about winning by having a journey that you enjoy along the way. Not some destination, but it's part of the experiences along the way. And as you have that, you have more energy for everything else. Did you hear that? I think I had puberty on that one. I just had that, my voice kind of creaked.
I heard that, yeah.
I don't know. My son today turned 14, and so his voice is starting to change.
Okay.
And he's almost as tall as me now, and I said, look,
dude,
I'm gonna wrestle you every day you're taller than me, so you can see this, my old man strength, keeping you
humble,
understanding that I'm the dad.
You're the alpha male in the family.
Yeah, he's the gentle giant.
He's the gentle giant, yeah.
So anyway, economic independence, 5 key factors: recover cash, engineer wealth, accelerate investment income, scale business revenue, or create additional lines of revenue, and then finally make it count. If you do this, you'll be able to handle uncertain times, recessions, be able to work with other people with different money personalities in your family, and just have so much more stability. Why? Because then you have time to create a life that you love.